With a pair of skis, we start back in the wood shop. So we get our lumber, mainly ash and poplar, from Metelsky Lumber, which is actually right at the base of Boyne Mountain. So they drop that off to us. It'll need to be planed to some extent. And then these pieces of ash and poplar are going to be cut into strips. And every single strip is going to be flex tested because some ash trees are going to have, different stiffness wood than others, and same for poplar. So we will put them on our little flex tester machine, and then they get assigned a rating. And then we categorize all of the strips based on those ratings. The next step in the process is those strips being glued together. So we've got our little glue up station right next to our clamping station, and those will be glued up, clamped. That glue is allowed to cure, and then that is going to form your core blank, is what we call it. So a core blank, once it is fully cured, is ready to go on the CNC. The first pass on the CNC that it takes, there will be channels cut for where the sidewall material, which is made out of urethane, is going to go. So once that first pass on the CNC is done and those channels have been cut into the cores, we'll take them back to the urethane room, and then we use our 2-part urethane that our machine mixes up, and we've got our little gun with a mixing tip on there. Then the liquid urethane, which is a probably honey-like consistency when it's coming out, gets poured into those channels in the wood cores. So those are allowed to cure, and then that urethane, as you can see, cures into a hard material. At that point, once the curing is done, they go back onto the CNC, and we actually mill out the full profile of the core on the second pass on the CNC. And then when that is finished, then those cores are ready to be popped out, and then just some sanding, and they will be ready to go. Those are pretty much ready to be laid up. The next step is going to be cutting the bases out of UHMW plastic. So we've got the signature Shaggy's blue and black that we cut on our Zune CNC. The Shaggy's letters are also cut. And then as you can see, we use the blue and black swap, as we call it. We don't have to waste the material by throwing away the letters. And we have our signature blue and black bases that a lot of people have come to know us for. Next up for the bases, they're going to get the steel edges applied. So the edges have already been pre-cut to match all the different lengths that we offer for our models. We use our little pneumatic machine here to hold everything in as the edges are lined up. We will anneal the edges with heat treat them. That allows them right near the tip and tail to follow the curvature of the bases. Those are just simply glued on to the bases, and then once that glue cures, the bases have the edges applied, and those are also ready to be laid up. We've got our carbon fiber that has been pre-cut to length and width specific to each model. Some models use carbon fiber above and below the core, some use it just below, and obviously the widths vary on how stiff we want a ski to be, what we want the flex profile of that ski to be. And then the first step in the sandwich construction is the cassette, as we call it. Some people will call them molds. So those are made out of aluminum. We mill those all here ourselves on our CNC. And there's a bottom cassette and a top cassette. So the bottom is holding the bases, and then that's the first layer, and then that sandwich construction starts, and you're simply adding the layers as you go up in the sandwich construction of a ski. So, generally it's going to be the bases, fiberglass, carbon fiber, the wood core, with, of course, the sidewalls are already taken care of on the core. And then you'll have more fiberglass. And then the top sheet is the last part to go on. And then once the epoxy has been applied and spread out between all of those layers, that's what's going to help those when they're being pressed or cooked, you could say, to have everything bond together. The top cassette goes on, and then they go in the press. The air bladder that you can see, as well as the heating blanket, they are applying the pressure and the heat. Then the next step is going to be in the final finishing area. They get cut apart into 2 skis on the bandsaw, and then go through the different grinders and sanders and everything else, including our Wintersteiger Scout that we have in the final finishing process. and then ended up coming out to a pair of skis that's finished and ready to go, that as a pair of skis that's ready to be mounted and skied on.